Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and you have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Tuesday, April the 13th, 2021. I'm David Menzies, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host. Well, if she were a car, folks, she'd be a Dodge Challenger Hellcat, sweet as a flower and full of horsepower. She is the she-devil with a sword, the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta, Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing there?
I am great, David. Even better after you cut that amazing promo for me. That's fantastic. And you've been in jail. So I don't know where you had time or the energy to devise something like that, but thank you so much.
Oh, on the contrary, Sheila, I had nothing but time in jail. I don't have a phone, I don't have a book, so I'm lying there in this filthy cell with a hideous toilet and the stench, and I'm lying on my back and I'm going, I got to think of a new introduction for the she-devil on Tuesday. I had nothing else to do.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you were a busy bee too on the weekend, GraceLife Church, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't in jail, but they did send in the Riot squad at one point to GraceLife Church, which is bizarre. Again, words I never thought I would say. The Alberta government sent the Riot squad in to a protest because people are outraged that the government has seized a church property and completely militarized it. But welcome to Jason Kenney's Alberta in 2021.
100%. Well, Sheila, we have two big stories. What happened in Montreal, of course, on the weekend. What happened at GraceLife on Sunday. And I guess without further ado, you better get to the housekeeping part of the show in terms of the ostensible policy reason of what we're trying to achieve here.
Absolutely. So everybody, if you are joining us on YouTube, thank you for joining us here. We are live on our regular YouTube channel, but also on the Rebel News Clips channel. And we're also live on Rumble right now. And the reason we are sprinkling our content around like Johnny Appleseed of the internet is because we have been completely demonetized here on YouTube. A few years ago, we got caught up in the big adpocalypse, so that even if you wanted to, put your specific ad in front of us, YouTube really didn't want you to do that. So we didn't really make a lot of ad dollars on YouTube after that, but we were still allowed to do something called a super chat. And that happens when you're live, like we're right now. And it gave our viewers an opportunity to interact with us and support the work that we do completely willingly. Unlike what Justin Trudeau does with the mainstream media. He just makes you pay for them, even though they're awful and you would never do it out of your own free will. So you could do something called a super chat. And you can still, if you're listening, you can still, for the time being, until YouTube figures it out, you can still do that on the Rebel News Clips channel. And they've completely taken that away from us. So we have a workaround. At the top of the screen there, at the top of the live chat, you can click on the link at the top. It's our pinned comment. It'll take you off YouTube over to Streamlabs. And there you can create a username. Please make it all one word. Otherwise, Streamlabs will have a problem with it. So all one word, throw some money in, and you can leave a comment for us. And Justin, the super producer, will send it to me and we'll read it on air. And it's a way to support the work that we do because YouTube, by taking away our ability to accept super chats on our main YouTube channel, has left a $400,000 hole in our company. And we think there's more work than ever to do. There's more stories to tell. The other side of the story during this pandemic has never been more important or relevant. And even though YouTube doesn't want us to tell it, we are going to anyway. And we need your help to do it. So again, if you would like to leave what we're calling a Rebel chat through Streamlabs, just click on the pinned comment. It'll take you off site. You can do it there.
And Sheila, if I may, you referenced Justin Trudeau's mainstream media. I just want to tease a video. I think it's going up later today, certainly by tomorrow. It's only going to be a couple minutes long. But at the Montreal anti-curfew protests, which started out so joyously until those creeps with Antifa and Black Bloc came to vandalize small businesses, because, of course, they're responsible for all this misery. Just what such bastards, pardon my French. But CBC showed up too. And what we witnessed was incredible. The mostly young people gathering, just hurling F-bombs, displaying middle fingers. They were clearly not welcome, and they made a quick retreat. And I ran up to the reporter, because we believe in telling the other side of the story. And I basically said, wow, why are you getting such a hostile, vulgar reception here with all these people? Whereas we, my cameraman Mocha and I, we were embraced. It was selfie city. Yeah. They loved us. And these are young people. I mean, it's given me hope for the younger generation, Sheila. And do you know what this CBC reporter did, Sheila? She pretended not to speak English. I'm calling bullshit on that. If you're with CBC in a cosmopolitan bilingual city like Montreal and you work as a reporter, you don't speak English? What a lying liar. And I went to the website to look at the coverage. First of all, even though she had a cameraman there, the main photo is a pickup from Canadian Press. Why? You were there. Yeah, you forgot to put the camera on? I looked for the byline, couldn't find it, so I thought I'd reached out in the comment section, and guess what? Comments for this article are now closed. So they want your money, folks. They're not interested in your opinion, and when you ask them, I wasn't being hostile to her. I just said, why are people here being so vulgar to you? I know I speak the English. Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, I was at a protest at the Alberta legislature yesterday, and same thing. Lots of love for Rebel News, not very much for the mainstream media at all. I mean, we got shouts out from the speakers on the podium. It was a crowd of 2,000 people, and there were speakers who were saying, hey, you know, like, thanks for the real media being here. And lined up all beside them are like the fake news media, and they're just sort of like looking at their shoes. It was amazing.
And they've all probably got their masks on, and they've all probably got their microphones attached to the proverbial 10-foot pole.
Oh, that's how you know that somebody's with the mainstream media. Even if they don't have their camera out, or even if they aren't interviewing someone, if they are at these things and they're wearing a mask, that's how you know they're media. They're just self-identifying for you by wearing a mask.
100%. Well, so Sheila, as they say, ladies first, what would you like to talk about first? What happened at GraceLife Church, or what happened in Montreal?
I think that we should probably talk about what happened to you, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was at GraceLife, and they are literally marching in the riot squad, the fence has come down, the church people have put it back up, the riot squad is coming in, and people are stopping me and saying, well, how's David? Is David out of jail yet? And I'm like, the riot squad's here. We're at this major international story, but they all were really concerned about you, David.
That is so sweet.
Maybe you go first.
You're breaking my heart. I didn't know until you just told me 2 seconds ago they were saying that, Sheila. That is what a wonderful group of people. And thank you for making my day with that anecdote. But yeah, well, folks, I guess most of you are probably familiar with the story. We went en masse to Montreal to cover the protest because in previous weeks, our cameramen, Mocha, Efron, Sid, Lincoln, they've been roughed up. They've been charged with not wearing a mask. And by the way, folks, the police in Quebec, part of their standard issue uniform, which includes, a gun and a taser, they carry around boxes of masks. And even though they call us Jew media for some perverse reason that I still don't know why, in CBC media, which they probably like, it was reported last month, Sheila, that hundreds of thousands of masks in Quebec, this was a Quebec-specific story, were contaminated. Mm-hmm. So you have cops with boxes of contaminated masks, presumably, putting their bare fingers on the mask, handing them out. I'm sorry, I like a jelly donut as much as the next person, but I don't want to be, smelling that scent in a contaminated mask for the rest of the day. So you get $1,550 tickets. Now, Ezra, in a team building event, we could have gone to a hotel, but he went to an Airbnb, and it was a boat. This amazing vessel docked permanently in the old port of Montreal, and this was not any kind, I mean, it's been reported, Sheila, by the mainstream media there, an illegal gathering. That's what they keep saying. No, because I can tell you that boat it can accommodate 21 people. We brought 17, so we're 4 under capacity.
Right.
It is listed on BNB. One of the people I felt so badly for on Saturday was the owner of the boat, who hustled down there when all heck broke out, because he basically said, Sheila, if I'm, selling an illegal B&B here, I'm out of business. I'm bankrupt, right? It turns out it isn't. It is exactly the same, folks, if Ezra booked us 17 hotel rooms at the Hilton in Montreal. It's just that it was on a boat. And then an hour before the protest, which we were all going to go en masse and report on, kind of like a repetition of us taking back Nathan Phillips Square back in the last summer when we were being trespassed. I don't even know if that's a word. The security guards keep saying that, trespass, whereas a filthy tent city was occupying the square and breaking 11 sections of the actual real Trespass Act. In John Tory's Toronto, practicing journalism is verboten. And we took back the square. We did not bend the knee. Yeah, we needed about, what was it, Sheila, about 8 security guards, because the peaceful, loving Afro-Indigenous protesters, they were throwing haymakers just for us going on the square. And that was okay for the security guards and the cops, but we didn't run away. And that's what we meant to do in Montreal. No, mate. We're going to cover journalism, and any of your phony rules, like you're not allowed to film me, which is not a thing, folks, even if you're a police officer. But the Quebec Police Service, I think, might be one of the worst cultures in terms of policing in Canada. They descended an hour before the protest at our boat. Now, I was having breakfast, and I was looking out, and I came out of the boat, like, what's going on? Dozens of officers, police cruisers, police on bicycles. And I was greeted by a police officer asking for my identification because he was giving me a $1,550 ticket. And I said, why? He says, I was looking at you through the window in the boat and I saw you didn't have a mask on. And I said, that's right, officer. You also saw the brown McDonald's coffee cup. I was drinking coffee. You saw that. And he said, it doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, Sheila, what am I supposed to do? Lie on my back and let it drip through the mask and I'll get maybe, 10% of the coffee to actually get into my mouth. So I've got a ticket for $1,550 dollars because evidently you're supposed to drink coffee with a mask on somehow. And meanwhile, Ezra said, you're not getting on this boat. Get a warrant first. And then this process that lasted, I think, Sheila, 10 and a half hours of the Montreal Police phoning judge after judge after judge, and judges going, are you crazy? You want to search a boat that contains journalists? There's no crime. There's no reasonable probable cause. Anyways, they made it look like a crime scene, didn't they, Sheila?
Yeah, that sure did. They
cordoned it off with tape. There was so much policing there. I wouldn't be surprised if $500,000 of police resources were deployed that day, Sheila. I really mean that. And for the bystanders, it was, what's going on here? Was there a murder? Is there a hostage situation going on? The hostage situation did happen, and I was the hostage. You see, folks, later in the day, after I covered the protests and came back, this female police officer was getting handsy with me, and I subscribe to the guy code, so even if it's a female cop, I'm not going to get handsy back. But I didn't like it because police can't get handsy with you until you're under arrest, until you've been charged with something. And then another cop, and Sheila, I'm not making this up, his name is Constable Trudeau.
Of course.
You can't write this. He came charging at me. He pushed me. We're going to run videotape because the camera doesn't lie. And I pushed back in a defensive reaction. The next thing I know, all hell breaks loose. two goons grab me from behind. They drag me to a police SUV. They slam my head on it. They handcuff me, and I'm brought to a prison cell for processing. It should have taken no more than 15 minutes, but I was there for hours in the most grotesque, filthy cell you can imagine. Uneaten food strewn everywhere. Unflushed toilet, the stench.
If you were gonna get coronavirus, you were gonna get it there.
100%, Sheila. And basically, what should have been, 20 minutes turned into hours and hours. And I didn't know what was happening at the boat, folks, which was the police reinventing themselves as Monty Hall with a badge from Let's Make a Deal. Tell you what, we'll release Menzies. You just let us on the boat. And Ezra, thank God, even though I wanted out of there as quick as possible, he didn't bend the knee. And Ezra came up with a compromise, which I thought was beyond fair, Sheila. If you bring, say, 3 or 4 cops on the boat, even without a warrant, okay, but we bring 4 of our staff to shadow you, because we don't trust the Quebec Police, the Montreal Police Service, Sheila. We don't want some kind of contraband showing up in one of our suitcases. And they refuse that. And we have all the bargaining power. You don't have a warrant. This is a great deal. And anyways, I've rambled on for a long time. Justin, Mr. Producer, can we just show a clip of what happened? Because as I said, folks, the camera does not lie.
Touch him! Did you touch him? Why did you touch him?
Because he was getting
No, he drove into me. He drove into me.
Are you hiding your name?
Keep your distance. Hey! Okay? You want to get arrested for that?
He got arrested?
Here are the thugs! Here are the thugs! Here come the thugs!
Shame! 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 Look what they're doing to David! You're a journalist! You're all pieces of shit! Shame on you! Shame! 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 Look what this! I'm going.
Send fucking 10 thugs down for the fucking car and push it. Fucking pigs. Take off your guns and badges. See how fucking tough you are. Throw your guns and badges. You have any fucking balls, you stupid fucking pig.
I never knew the hood of a Ford Explorer is so sturdy, Sheila. My forehead got very intimate with that on the takedown. I don't know if we can roll that bit a little later, but my one act of disobedience, in addition to not walking, they were dragging me, those goons behind me, was when we went to the police caution tape. And maybe I should be worried because this might result in another charge. It went right into my face, so I bit it in half. I was like a rabid Wolverine, and I just thought, they'll have to get some new caution tape up. Like I said, folks, there's probably another ticket in the mail for, defiling a crime scene right now. But Sheila, 2 things. One is they had no right to be there. They had no warrant. They had no probable cause. This was just bully boy tactics, I think, to amputate our journalism in terms of covering the protest. They couldn't even do that because a couple of us got off the boat in time to go and look at the protest. Where I should say, Sheila, the police were on their very best behavior, but I guess even with the Montreal Police Service, like they say, even a broken clock is correct twice a day. And the second thing is, as you saw, the officer shoved me in a defensive move. I shoved back, open hand. The guy's wearing a bulletproof vest, for goodness sakes. Was there contact made? Yes. But, after being out in the sun for hours, after being denied access to our ship, after members, including myself, being denied medicine that we needed because it was on the ship, after being denied our vehicles because it was behind the police caution tape. Yeah, forgive me, I pushed back because at that point I was not under arrest. He had no right to lay his grubby hands on me. So there you go, folks. That's the story of what happened. And I got out of jail at, I think, by the time it got to the 10.5-hour mark of our boat being surrounded, so by now it's nighttime, it began around 11 a.m., then I was released. So their bluff did not work. Ezra did not agree to a hostage exchange, if you will. And the cops ran out of judges to call to get that warrant, and they finally went away. What a disgraceful police service they are. As Ezra says, they're the most corrupt in Canada. He Googled Montreal Police and corruption yesterday. He expected maybe about 500 or so hits, Sheila. 2.5 million hits when you Google those words. Unbelievable. What's your assessment after seeing the videotape, Sheila?
I think it's outrageous. I think, what the heck did they want a warrant for? What were they going to go in there and do?
Yeah.
If it's an illegal gathering, you can see everybody. If you think it's an illegal gathering, which it isn't, but you can see everybody coming out. So if you think it's an illegal gathering, ticket everybody and move on. It didn't need to be treated like a crime scene. So what did they need that warrant for? What were they going in there to look for? Were they going to look for your footage and maybe delete it, your footage of their misdeeds and how they mistreat protesters? Were they concerned that you had some footage of them doing something awful? Of course we do. We publish it. So what were they planning on going in there and doing and seizing and taking and then suddenly disappearing? And I think they were trying to occupy our team so that you guys weren't out on the streets doing exactly that. Occupy or taking footage of how the Montreal Police treat people who are resistant to the lockdowns in Montreal, because it has been brutal, from their storming of the synagogues, arresting Orthodox Jews because they have to pray at certain times. That's their religion. How they grab people from the street. We're helping somebody through Fight the Fines where he pulled down his mask. He's in a protest. He's following the rules, but his phone unlocks using his face. So he pulls down his mask to unlock his phone, and the cops come and grab him and ticket him. That's how heavy-handed these thugs are. And that's exactly what we saw yesterday. They didn't want you guys out there showing the world just how awful they are. Look how they shoved Yankee. Yeah. What was Yankee doing that he needed to shove?
Wasn't that's Yankee's ridiculous. Finest moment, though, Sheila, when he did this human shield? I never knew he had that. He had that in him, but that is what an act of bravery. And I should tell you, Sheila, like I said, they had descended upon the houseboat at 11 a.m. At 10:30, I went out with young Daniel and approached because in about a couple hundred meters away, there were tons of police assembling in the port. I guess that's their parking space for the cruisers, because the protest was within, essentially walking distance, you could say. And I went there, and you know me, Sheila, I was not, wearing trouble on my shirt, to quote the Bruce Springsteen line. I went up to them. I went up to a gaggle of police officers. We're hideously outnumbered, so there's no way I'm going to cause trouble. And I'm socially distancing. I believe I was wearing a mask. And I said, hey guys, how you all doing? Just wondering, what are the rules in covering the protest today? And you know what he said to me, Sheila? Go away. Go away.
You're trying to follow the rules.
I'm asking you, what do you want me to do so I don't get ticketed and arrested? And then another officer overheard. He said, you got to speak to communications. I got the number. I phoned it twice. It disconnects both times before you get to a human being. It's like the quarantine hotel phone number that, to my knowledge, no one's ever gotten through to a human being before it disconnects. So we tried. And I wasn't I wasn't hostile. I wasn't aggressive. I was just saying, listen, guys, I just want to follow the rules. And I did just want to follow the rules. I didn't want to give them a reason, Sheila, to arrest me. And their answer was, go away. It is unbelievable. And I just want to add one last thing. I've never had dealings with the Quebec Police Service, but I had a high opinion of them for one reason, albeit a bizarre one, Sheila. I am a huge fan of Just for Laughs Gags, which is shot in Montreal. It's a modern day candid camera. It's a great show. And the Montreal Police Service lends their police cruisers, it lends their uniforms to the comedians doing these elaborate pranks on the public. I'm telling you, Sheila, I could never see in a million years the Toronto Police Service or any other police service I know lending out their stuff, because, it's kind of it's a tricky situation. You don't want to be, in a position where you're tricking, because this is not filming a movie where everyone's in on the gag, folks. It's tricking people into believing these comedians are actual cops. But I used to think, wow, look at that. They're so easygoing. They like comedy too. And nothing could be further from the truth. I think them lending their logos and cruisers and uniforms to the Just for Laughs Gags production, Sheila, that's all about PR. That's a PR image they want to see, they want the public to see. Because these guys, folks, in terms when it comes to the real policing with real people, it's less gags and more Gestapo.
Well, Justin, maybe you can bring it up. I tweeted back to the guy who said it. But I'm very curious how anybody even came to be aware that the entire, well, not the entire, I mean, I was here in Alberta and Drea was working too in BC, but how did nearly all of the Rebel News team, how did their location end up privy to the Montreal cops? Of all the places and gatherings to raid, how did they know about ours? And so I'm curious, did the word to crack down on Rebel News come from somewhere else? And I'll tell you what makes me suspicious. And again, I'm prone to conspiracy theory, so I always have to pump my own brakes here. But when the spokesperson or deputy spokesperson or whatever, a communications bureaucrat for the mayor of Montreal then blames us for the riots that took place in Montreal, I think it was that evening evening.
No, it was, sorry, Sheila, that was Sunday night, the next day.
Sunday night. So the next day. So you're in jail, then you get released. By the way, then David goes out and covers a riot after he spends the previous day in jail.
And Sheila, I want to just interject here. Normally, if there's a riot in Toronto and it's the Antifa types, if there's a police presence, if we don't have security, I feel safe. But we were literally, Mocha and I, caught between a rock and a hard place. The Antifa people hate us, and that was a tiny number of the people that showed up later, folks, to spoil this joyous occasion. But the Antifa people hate us, and the cops hate us. So, and here we are wearing fluorescent vests, right? So
yes.
It was a dangerous place to be in, and I think Ezra made the call and said, get the heck out of there. You've got enough footage. This can only end badly. Anyways, I just want to point that out. Didn't mean to interrupt you, Sheila.
Okay, so Justin, it's back a little bit on my Twitter feed. Okay, so it's Guillaume Cloutier.
Yep.
Yes, Guillaume Cloutier, yes. So he's the director or deputy chief of staff for the mayor of Montreal. And he has blamed us for the riot that happened the next night after we were treated like a riot by Montreal Police. He says, Old Montreal throughout the weekend, the provocateurs of Rebel News Online and Ezra Levant have made a stir with the result that we know, breakage and vandalism. Get the hell out of our town. Oh, I know why you want us out of your town, because you guys have turned it into an authoritarian hellhole and are mistreating your citizens. That's why we're there. It's newsworthy, and the hacks at CTV and CBC and Global won't do the hard work of covering it. So we've got to bring in journalists from out of province to cover it. But how dare they blame us for a riot? And when our people get attacked because this guy and the mayor's office is blaming us for a riot, I promise you, every single one of them is going to answer for it. If you think you saw Ezra mad already, just wait till our people get beaten up because the mayor's office has said we're responsible for a riot.
What a lying liar, Sheila, and I'll tell you why. When Moke and I got there, it was, I believe, 10 past 8. So in other words, when we got there, there were already a couple of thousand people at the old port area of Montreal. We were late to the party because, kickoff time was 8 p.m. And the reason for that, folks, is in Montreal, the curfew was moved back from 9:30 the day before to 8 p.m. So it's not like Moke and I were the Pied Pipers of Hamelin coming in with a gravy train of people that had violence and mayhem on mind. That's one thing. Secondly, the crowd, the initial crowd, these were almost everybody was young, and it was a party atmosphere. They were playing music. Yeah, maybe they were breaking a noise bylaw. They were setting off fireworks. Yeah, it's not Dominion Day yet, but so maybe that's a bylaw infraction. All that garbage you saw, which we reported on, that was when the Antifa and Black Bloc came to take advantage of a situation. Just like they did, Sheila, by the way, in 1993 when the Montreal Canadiens last won the Stanley Cup. I think Kim Campbell was prime minister that year. It's so long ago. Oh, you poor Montreal hockey fans. Anyways, that was an element that was less than 1%. And they did despicable damage, and we condemned it on the video, as you saw. Also, one last point. As I mentioned earlier, the CBC was there. Why aren't they agent provocateurs?
Yeah. I mean, these maniacs in the government of the city of Montreal have kept these people locked up for a year. Every time they try to speak out and express their outrage about what's being done to them, the anti-Semitic authoritarian police come and stomp all over their civil liberties. The government of Montreal and Quebec has created a powder keg, and it's being ignited in Montreal, and it is their fault. And we're only there to cover the misdeeds of it all because the mainstream media won't. How dare they blame us for the disaster they've created, and it's about to get worse, I think, before it gets better. Shame on that guy.
Sheila, thank God we live in the 21st century as opposed to in medieval times, because I think back then, what was the saying? Shoot the messenger when they brought bread and bad news. If this is medieval times, I'm 6 feet under right now, folks, because the people running Montreal think that our presence there caused what happened on Sunday. We were merely witness to what happened. If we hadn't been there, the exact same scenario would have occurred.
Our people are routinely abused by the cops there. Yeah. The things they say to Yankee are putting me off the rev limiter even just thinking about it. The way they treat Mocha and Lincoln and you and all of our team over the weekend. How we're the victim here.
That's right.
Oh boy, we're not going to be the victims. We're going to show these people who's boss here, and it's not them. We're going to stand up for civil liberties for everybody, starting with our own. Just watch. Anyways,
I'm going to take a guess, Sheila, and predict that we've got some super chats.
A ton. Thank you, everybody, for being so generous. And I want to remind everybody that if you donate through Streamlabs, we get 100% of that, minus the credit card processing fees, as opposed to if you're donating through a super chat on the Rebel News Clips channel. Yes, it's a little easier, but you're also lining evil YouTube's pockets.
Yeah.
Okay, We the Resistance donated $5. Thank you very much. The fact that we must fight from in Canada today is exactly why the fight must never end. There's absolutely no better cause than freedom. It's the foundation of liberty and democracy. Thank you, Rebel. Well, we will definitely keep fighting for freedom. That's Ezra's little motto. That's his sign-off tagline.
Yep.
Angela Lambensil donated $50. Wow.
Thank you.
Angela, thank you very much. Does our national anthem still ring true? True North, strong and free. It saddens me to see cancel culture and freedom of speech being taken away from the people. Yeah, I mean, you look at Alberta, our provincial motto is strong and free. And I've never seen anything more authoritarian than what I saw happen to GraceLife Church this past week.
Yeah, on the subject of the national anthem, Sheila, that's one of the lyrics I have committed to memory. Most of them, I don't know what they are anymore. Back in the old days when you go to a Leaf game and stand up, I kind of just mumble along because it keeps getting changed out of political correctness.
Just weird. Gabriel Mainville donated $10 through Super Chat. David, I want to tell you a phrase that rhymes in French but doesn't in English. I'll quote to you right now in English. The wind and the storm, nothing stop you. Well, that's kind.
Oh, that's great. It beats my old line of hickory dickory dock. I'm not going to give you the other stanza.
Sheila's friend Justin, hi Justin, donated $1.59. Masjid Al-Rashid Mosque in Edmonton and Akram Jama Islamic Center in Calgary both are regularly packed full with no repercussions. Compare against 200 cops for GraceLife and an AHS Alberta Health Services raid for Street Church. Unbelievable. I had to send vids to Sheila. Yeah, and that's true. And let me be clear, and I think I am every time somebody brings this up to me. I don't want to be a tattletale to the mosques or the temples or the synagogues or anything. I want them all to be open. But it's the mixed levels of enforcement that look pretty bigoted to me.
And if I may, Sheila, I did a video, I think it was back in December. It was somebody tipped us off about a Scarborough mosque. I purposely did not out it because we want all places of worship to conduct their business. But there was clearly a line of more than, I think the attendance level at the time was 10 or 20 people, but there was a huge line outside the mosque. The parking lot was full. And I went there and I was doing a stand-up, and a nice gentleman with the mosque came up to me. He was wearing the orange vest because he was directing traffic. And I said that we had been tipped off that you're breaking the attendance rules, which I don't agree with anyways. And what he said, and I'm going to take him at his word, 10 people at a time were coming in. They would get on their prayer mats, do their prayer, and out you go. It was almost like the mosque was a drive-through. And so he said, in that condition, we are obeying the rules. And like I said, I took him at his word. It was impossible to tell if it was true or not. We didn't go, we weren't invited into the mosque. But that could be sort of the asterisk, Sheila, that if you go out to one of those mosques, maybe they are complying by having, groups of 10 or whatever the number is, come in, do a prayer, out you go, next group in.
Okay, let's keep going. Aussie Bob gave us $7.63. I wonder where the money's raised with the pandemic go. Into someone's pocket? Well, it's sure lining the pockets of Walmart, Costco, Amazon. A lot of people getting rich while a lot of the middle class is getting just completely devastated.
Oh, Sheila, I think the money is going to be that element Justin Trudeau mentioned 6 years ago when he said the budget would balance itself. Quarantine fines.
Yeah, no kidding. Ian Myers donated $7.97. Thank you very much. Does the Rebel have a medical expert? No, but we did used to have a staff geologist, kind of. It was Holly Nicholas, a former reporter with us. She was a geologist. If so, can you ask if a blood transfusion from someone vaccinated with the mRNA vaccine can pass on? Oh, that's a weird question. Yeah, I never even thought of that.
You know what? I'll reach out to our friend, Dr. Trozzi, who came on for a 3-part interview. He's a medical doctor, more than 30 years experience, has put his career online, folks, because in my 3-part interview, he was not disguised. When I met him last year, we disguised him, but he's so fed up that he's decided not to cower in fear anymore. And I admire this man because even in the medical and scientific community, Sheila, cancel culture is part of the deal now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I just realized why I can't read anything on my screen. So also, now might be a good time to suggest to everybody, if you're not already a member of Rebel News Plus, if you are interested in a very credible medical doctor's take on the pandemic response here in Alberta, I have an interview with Dr. Dennis Modry. And he is, he worked in heart and respiratory medicine, and he did lung transplants. And so he knows about working with immunocompromised people, respiratory illness, how to manage infectious diseases, because people who are immune compromised already, because he doesn't want them rejecting their transplanted organs. He's spoken out about the pandemic. He's wanted to have a discussion with Premier Jason Kenney, someone who he describes as a longtime friend. And he says there was absolutely a different way. There's still a different way to reopen the economy and not worry about overwhelmed hospital rooms. So that's on my paywall show, The Gunn Show. It sits behind the paywall along with Ezra's nightly Ezra Levant show, David Menzies' fun Friday night show, Rebel Roundup, and Andrew's new show, Andrew Says. It's only $8 a month to subscribe, and you get all of that. And we threw in Andrew's new show for the same price as we were charging before. $8 a month, I'm sorry, or I can't see that, or $80 a year, which I think is probably the best deal. And yeah, I mean, we've got some great content behind the paywall. We've got a lot of content for free that you can always watch for free, and you can donate right now through something called a Rebel Chat if you want to support the work that we do. But again, behind the paywall, it's rebelnewsplus.com.
Yeah, and as Sheila said, folks, it used to be 3 shows behind the paywall. Now it's 4. So we're kind of like one of those tire dealers. Buy 3, get the 4th one free now.
Right. Right.
Nobody beats our content prices.
Okay, Annalisa S. Oh, Annalisa S. She's probably going to be super mad about what happened to David.
Uh-oh.
She donated $10.
Thank you.
Yep, she's mad. Well, my sweet Menzies, I have to say, when that cop pushed you, I was fired up. Nobody hurts my Menzies. I'll take that B word down. LOL. Love you both. See?
Thank you
She's
so
mad.
much. You are a true
Annalisa's-
sweetheart, Annalisa.
She's in beast mode right now. Mark in Alberta donated $2 through a super chat. What happened to Ben Bankus? He's still producing content. He's just off doing his own thing right now. But yeah, you can find Ben on his own YouTube channel. He's still doing his thing. Freedom for All donated $10. Sheila and David, could somebody put up an Arbrecht macht frei sign at GraceLife military fence? I'm sorry, I don't speak German, so maybe you want to super chat back and explain that to me. David, do you know?
My experience with German and fences, it tends to be a bad situation.
I know. No.
It's either, yeah, Mr. Producer said really funny. I think he's being facetious again.
Ayla donated $10. Hi, Sheila and David. Hi. Call Me Canada donated $1.99. Saw Stephen Harper on Twitter pushing the COVID vaccine. Apparently he took it, but who really knows? Is there a conservative that hasn't been paid off? Look, I'm not against vaccines, although another one, the J&J one, has a problem now. But I'm not against vaccines. You want to take them? Take them. You don't want to take them? Don't take them. But I don't like the coercion part of all of it, where we even have people saying, oh, we're not going to force you to take the vaccine. You just literally cannot participate in society if you don't, and the economy of your province won't open. So if you don't take the vaccine, you are responsible for ruining the economy and destroying your friends' and families' businesses.
No,
so you better take the vaccine.
You're right, Sheila. It won't be, you're not going to be financially ticketed. You're not going to go to a quarantine hotel. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. But you know what? When things get back to normal and you want to go down to the Air Canada Centre and watch the Fleetwood Mac concert, look at your ticket stub. You must have your vaccination or else you do not get a ticket. It's soft tyranny, Sheila, in eclipsing our rights and freedoms. I'm sure that is going to be part of the deal whenever we get out of this. And by the way, 2 questions about this pandemic. Are we at peak insanity yet? And what is the year? Can we have an over-under bet? What is the year when you can walk around without a mask, you can go to a stadium or an arena? When does that happen, Sheila? When does the old normal come back in vogue?
I think you just go to Texas. If you want the old normal, just go to South Dakota.
Florida.
All those places, Florida, where they were like, yeah, you don't have to wear masks then. Infection rates continue to plummet. Where you can't play baseball in Canada, but you can go to another country and play it, and that's just fine. That's on yoga. I think this is John Yoga, but Justin maybe cut the J off. Donated $1. He says he's very sad to see Kian Bexley leave. I'm very excited to see what Kian does next. He worked very hard for us. We left on very good terms. He's just going to do his own thing, and that's great. I think whatever Kian does next, you know what? I'm going to claim maternity over it because I think Kian's a hard worker, and whatever he does next, I wish him the best of luck in. We're cheering for him.
And Sheila, Kian, I'm going to give him a plug for his other business. His labor of love, if you will, is the puzzle business that he's running. And when I saw him on the weekend, he says it's doing surprisingly well. So I'm very, very happy for him. He loves puzzles, and why not make puzzles and get people to buy them? That's the best of both worlds, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, he's creating conservative themed puzzles, and that's his passion, puzzles. He's the puzzler.
Does that mean he's going to wear green spandex with a big question mark on it, like the Riddler?
He should. He should. We have a strict no costume rule here at Rebel News, but Kian's new venture, I don't know about whether or not he's put costume restrictions on himself.
Gee, who is responsible for that strict no costume rule at Rebel?
That one video that shall never be seen is responsible for the no costume rule.
Transcat. Forever put in the vault, folks.
Don't even talk about it. Trini Canadian donated $1.99. Keep up the good fight. You folks are grabbing international attention. Where's Kian? Have not seen any reports from him lately, and he's not on the website. You can look at Kian's YouTube channel. He's got an explanation of what he's up to next over there. And I think we're publishing the video. We're cross-publishing it on our YouTube and our Rumble. Just a brief explainer about what he's up to next. Chrissy M donated $20. Oh, by the way, stay tuned because we're working on training up some really great new talent to help me with the fight here in Alberta. So you'll still see all of your favorite stories and favorite beats covered by Rebels here in Alberta. Don't worry. Chrissy M donated $20. Will there be a Rebel presence at the next World Freedom Rally in Ottawa on May 15th?
Oh, that's a very good question. We were told by the Montreal people the next big rally there, Sheila, is May 1st, which is also May Day. So you might have conflicting demonstrations. My goodness, the Montreal Police Service won't know who to whack and stack first.
Yeah, I was going to say they'll have their pick of heads to knock in, won't they?
And also I was told May 15th for Montreal as well. Ottawa, I must say, Sheila, in the events I've gone to, because people might think we're anti-cop, far from it. I want to give a shout out to the Parliamentary Police Service, who's responsible for Parliament Hill. The last event I went to was a few weeks ago. It was the Family Fun Day, and they were so accommodating. They believe the grounds of Parliament Hill is exactly there for demonstrations. You just can't erect any structure. They wanted to bring in bouncy castles for the kids, and they said you can't do that. Of course, there's always an exemption, such as that boondoggle of a hockey rink Justin Trudeau put up on Parliament Hill back in 2017 for the sesquicentennial. But they embrace freedom and they don't crack down. And I went up to the officers, a couple of them, when I was last there, and I congratulated them. I thanked them for allowing this wonderful event where kids were allowed to be kids. They were getting their face painted. They were kicking a soccer ball around. It was such a throwback to partying like it was 2019. And so I think because of the behavior of the police in Ottawa, there's no real reason to be the watchdogs for them. I think I'd rather go to the Montreal one, Sheila, because we are, when it comes to who watches the watchers, we're the watchers in Montreal, because without a media presence there, I really think the Montreal Police Service would act even worse than what they're currently doing.
Yeah, and credit again where it's due. Given what happened at GraceLife on Sunday, there were no arrests made at the church site when the fence came down. Now, they probably could have charged everybody involved in pulling the fence down with mischief, but I think the response of the people who helped put the fence back up probably saved a lot of troubles for other people. And again, police discretion. I don't know who's directing all those cops to that site, but they are doing it on behalf of Alberta Health Services. However, the guys on the ground, they're pretty decent, all things considered.
And Sheila, did you want to talk about what happened on Sunday at Gray? I know we probably have more super chats, but you were on the ground. You are welcome there, as opposed to the mainstream. Were they in a ditch again?
Well, because the entire church site has been seized by the province. Now, not just the church building, that's wrapped in 2 layers of fence and a tarp, but also the entire property now is fenced off. I would guess it's probably about 3 acres-ish. And that's all roped off. So while I can stand on the neighbor's property because I know the neighbor and he likes me and I like him back, when the protest was there on Sunday, the mainstream media were with the protesters because everybody's just fenced off and out on the road. And see, yeah, that's the police marching in right there. So while I was there, I got to tell you, things were pretty good, even when the fence came down, by and large. Most of the people there came to pray, to sing, even evangelize to the cops, to tell the cops, look, we're praying for you. I have footage of that where they're saying, we're praying for the cops here, that they change their church. They pulled down the fence. People who were, I know there was one lady there who is normally with the congregation. She came and she was leading the chant saying, leave the fence alone, leave the fence alone. And you can see people come out of the crowd and help put the fence back up. Because here's the thing, for GraceLife, who were so wisely meeting off-site that day. They have basically gone underground like the churches in China. They were meeting at an undisclosed location. Now, I've got a pretty good idea where that is, and I'm invited for next week. But I'm glad that I was there to cover the protest because there are definitely 2 sides to the story here. And the thing with the fence is, GraceLife could have pulled the fence down at any time. The farmer next door goes to their church. He's got a tractor. He could just yank it down. I mean, you saw how easily it came down. But for GraceLife, it's not about the building. It's never been about the building or the land. It's about gathering together. And that's all they ever wanted to do, is gather together unrestricted by the province. That's why Pastor Coates got in trouble in the first place. That's what put the church under surveillance by Alberta Health Services. And that's what they did on Sunday. They met underground at an undisclosed location so that they could gather and worship together. And they will continue to do that. This is a stare down with the province that the province isn't going to win because they don't even understand what the fight is even about right now. They can have the building. They can even have the pastor. They did. They had him for 35 days and they still continue to meet. This is about them meeting together. So the fence can stay up, but they are going to meet.
And Sheila, I think we might have a difference of opinion here. I know we chatted about this, regardless of who the agitators were. I don't care about that. But I think, what happened to Pastor Coates and the fencing off of this church, I think it was unethical. It was immoral. And maybe even illegal. We'll find out in the months ahead in court. And I got to be honest, if I was in that neck of the woods and I had a tractor or a monster truck, I would
know.
knock that fence down. Now, I get it. It's their property, and they didn't want to do that. I respect that. But I go back to this book I read many years ago, No More Christian Nice Guy. The subtitle, When Being Nice Instead of Good Hurts Men, Women, and Children. And it's basically how we almost have a dangerous caricature, in the words of the author, of Jesus as being a gentle Jesus, meek and mild. And I just, reference what happened when Jesus walked into the temple and saw the money changers. He didn't say, hey guys, have a nice day, and pray that they would leave. He kicked their candy asses right out of that temple. And this is where I'm coming from. Enough is enough. Enough of this turning the other cheek. Enough of this praying. I'm sorry, that's how I feel about it. What they did to Pastor Coates was grotesque. And like I said, perhaps even illegal. This disgusting fence, like this is now a concentration camp going up, is also equally disgusting. I know there must be people in that neck of the woods that have a monster truck. I would have driven it right through whatever the ticket is for vandalizing a fence. Give it to me. That would have been my response. Like I said, it's their building. They want to do that. I respect that. But man, oh man. Justin thinks I'm encouraging people to do that. But I'm not encouraging people to do that. But let me put you on the spot, Sheila. Did you agree back in November when Adam Skelly opened Adamson Barbecue, because he was breaking the law, he was breaking the health violations, but he did it. He took a stance. And I would, if it were up to me, I would also take a stance if I was a member of that church. That's how I feel.
Sure. But here's the thing. I think it's, again, for GraceLife, it's a different issue. For them, they have to gather. It's the gathering in person that keeps getting them in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's not about the building. It's not about a business. It's not about any of that. For them, they must gather together. And so whether they do it in that building or whether they do it in an undisclosed location, that's the act that puts them on the wrong side of the government. And so for them, they take a peaceful resistance approach, much like Jesus. Jesus, if you believe that he's the Messiah, he could have changed his own fate, but he never did. He could have come down off the cross, but he never did. For the people at GraceLife, they are accepting the consequences of their act of peaceful resistance to the government, and they hope that in their peaceful resistance that they will change hearts and minds. And unfortunately, by taking down the fence as though the government needed any help in the first place, we are seeing an escalation of the police presence there. And, every day there were more fences and more cops and more patrols and more police presence. And now, because the fence came down, even though it went back up, what happened next? The riot squad came in. Riot squad wasn't deployed because peace won the day. But now we're seeing more cops. The roads are closed. We sent young Daniel out there last night to just investigate to see what's happening in the evening out there. And yeah, the police are continuing to close off the roads. Things are just continuing to escalate there. And, GraceLife has always taken an approach of peace. We will do what we do. And how the government reacts is not something that we can control. And so this has sort of changed the dynamic. However, GraceLife was not responsible for that because GraceLife, like I said, they were moving somewhere else together, which is all they ever wanted to do.
But Sheila, I understand the point you're making, but in a sense, you're also making my point. When this saga began more than a month ago, they've always been peaceful. They've always been passive. They've always responded with prayers as opposed to, civil disobedience. And what has it gotten them? It got their pastor put in a disgusting maximum security facility for 35 days. It got their church fenced off like it's a toxic waste site. I'm sorry. They must have way more patience than I do, Sheila, because I'd be at my breaking point.
You know what? This is, again, this is their church. It's their fight. Yeah. I'm trying to be respectful of it. I'm doing my best to understand it through their Christian worldview. but I'm wearing a shirt with Joan of Arc on it today. So that should tell you where I'm coming from. This is a young girl who led a French army.
No,
and retook a city. So that's where I'm coming from.
And as I said at the beginning, it is their church. They can do what they want, and I do respect it. They are the owners of that property.
Yep.
And I'm not encouraging people to do civil disobedience, but I kind of liked what Adam Skelly did back in November, even though it was ill-fated. And there you go. I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree on the approach because my heart goes out to GraceLife Church and their congregants and the pastor. They have been treated despicably by government. And at the end of the day, Sheila, as I've said before on this story, the buck stops at Jason Kenney's desk. And it is, you talk about the Cersei walk of shame from Game of Thrones. Jason Kenney, the man who was a minister in the Harper government, who was responsible for the Religious Freedom Bill, and look how he acts today. Astonishing.
You know, I was at a protest yesterday at the Edmonton legislature where some people chanted, lock her up, as people tend to do, out of frustration, as a joke, about our unelected, unaccountable, highly paid public health officer, Deena Hinshaw, who is, through her bad decisions and bad advice, ruining the lives of the people who were at the legislature yesterday. So I get their frustration. I get it. Here's the thing. The Alberta government then came out and apologized about the hurt feelings of Deena Hinshaw because these radicals, these, what did he call them? Unhinged conspiracy theorists chanted jokingly, lock her up, about Deena Hinshaw. I'm sorry, I've got a tough time hearing that apology from the government that literally locked up a pastor for saying services. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I don't care about the hurt feelings of Deena Hinshaw, who's never lost a penny. Those people are frustrated. They've lost their jobs. They've had their civil liberties tromped on, and they want to blow off some steam. I'm sorry, I don't think the government needs to apologize for any of that. They owe an apology, however, to Pastor Coates. The let's lock up a pastor crowd is mad because some people chanted lock her up about an unelected health bureaucrat, and I'm just sick of all of it.
And you know what the moral of this story is, Sheila, in my book? Jason Kenney is going to learn the lesson that Aaron O'Toole is learning, which is, when you try to please everybody, you really do please nobody, and your popularity diminishes. I would love to, if we had some extra dough in the kitty, commission a poll in terms of Mr. Kenney's approval rating in Alberta, because instead of taking a firm stance for freedom, instead of Alberta being modeled on Governor DeSantis's Florida, he is instead reaching out to the leftists and trying to appease them, which will always hate him and his party. And what it only does is his base, he denigrates, much like Premier Ford denigrating the members of Ford Nation by calling them a bunch of yahoos. I can't believe how many conservative or wannabe conservative politicians in this country have lost the plot, Sheila, and are actually, turning on their own base. When Hillary Clinton called Trump supporters a basket full of deplorables, she was actually going after the enemy. Now you have Kenney, Ford going after their supporters, by using language like you just read on that tweet and the bunch of yahoos infamous phrase from Premier Ford. I think they might learn a hard lesson at the ballot box.
Yeah, we had 4 years of misery with Rachel Notley.
Yeah.
And the right stands to split the vote again, by the way, because I think there's trouble brewing in Alberta.
Oh, yeah.
There's pro-liberty conservatives and pro-let's hang on to power conservatives, red Tories. The vote is standing to split again. And even, throw the separatists into the mix there. And who might run up the middle is Rachel Notley. And when we get another 4 years of misery, attacks on farmers, attacks on the energy industry, attacks on free speech, attacks on conservatives, everybody called racist, bizarre, weird social justice garbage shoehorned into our education curriculum when our churches are attacked further. That's because Rachel Notley's in power all of a sudden. That's going to hang on Jason Kenney's neck like a millstone, because everything that's happening now is because of him. He's paving the way for her. It's going to be a nightmare.
If that horrible scenario ever happens again, where the Rachel Notley NDP party runs Alberta for another 4 years, Jason Kenney will go into the history books as the worst premier in the history of Alberta. He was presented as the savior for, in terms of 4 years of destroyers, your great book, Sheila, about the Rachel Notley NDP. And because of being spineless and ballless, he has created yet another perfect storm for the Rachel Notley NDP to come into power. That is egregious to the power of infinity.
And I know, Justin, we've got a ton of super chats, but before we go on, before anybody says, Sheila, sounds like you're trying to get Rachel Notley elected by attacking Jason Kenney. I want Jason Kenney to be the conservative he promised us he would be 4 years ago.
Exactly.
Because that's how we keep Rachel Notley out of power. I would suggest that very few people worked harder than me to get rid of Rachel Notley.
Yep.
I wrote 2 books about it. I crisscrossed the province, documenting all of her bad things, handing out lawn signs, doing whatever I could do to spread the message about how terrible she was. I want Jason Kenney to be the guy everybody thought they were voting for, instead of this guy now. And he's running out of time to fix it. Anyway, let's keep going. Gin-soaked raisin donated $7.97. Keep up the good work, Rebel News, and thanks for your continued coverage of GraceLife. Well, thank you very much. Philippe Brevard donated $2. Can't do much better than a boat surrounded by water with a locked gate and a quasi-drawbridge in a pandemic. LOL, Rebels. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and what happened to social distancing with all those cops getting handsy on us, Sheila?
Yeah, they social distance your face right into the hood of a cop car. Xanax donated $1.04. Hey, David, did any peaceful protest projectiles fly around you? Hope not. Still think my shirt idea of elder abuse is not okay. Still stands, as even the cops now can't keep their hands off of you. Yeah, no kidding.
How old do you have to be to play the elder abuse card, Sheila?
I don't know, David. How old are you?
Oh, how dare you?
Are you getting the seniors discount when they're stealing your liquor from you at the LCBO?
We have a story coming up about that too, folks. You will not believe it. But we have so many super chats to get.
So many. I see 32 unread on the screen here.
Oh.
Kane and Mark donated $3. Hi, David. I get so mad when David gets hurt by a bus, dogs, or cops. I have no respect for the cops. Shout out to Justin.
Still waiting for a force of nature, being struck by lightning, maybe a tsunami washing me off a pier. I don't know.
A tree is going to fall on you. Steve72 donated $10. Hello from West Virginia. We have our own issues here. Our state is open. However, I'm talking about my Senator Joe Manchin, whether or not he's going to maintain the filibuster in the Senate. Yes. Benny B. the Dog Beausoleil donated $10. Lots of coverage of Montreal Monday and today. None of the rallies on the weekend. Perhaps you can promote nurses. They need us tomorrow on Davenport in Toronto. Oh, the Canadian frontline nurses. I know Tamara did a lot of coverage of those ladies before she went on maternity leave because she had a little rebel. Crime Minister Jay Castro donated $1.99. With the current state of the Conservative Party, voting Liberal is a better option. Don't talk crazy. Another 4 years of suffering under Trudeau may be needed to wake up all the normie Canadians who are clueless to what is happening in their country. It's a shame, but call it tough love. You know what? Just vote your conscience, and Justin Trudeau is going to win anyway. So. Rebecca donated $1.20. Mayor of West Lincoln was a guest speaker for the anti-lockdown protest in St. Catharines. I think he's associated with the anti-lockdown caucus. CH interviewed him after he received criticism and denounced the protesters. He's a traitor. Interesting.
Wow. I'll look into that because this is St. Catharines is home of the Great Barbershop Rebellion. And, you know, the barbershops that have opened there, they have been hammered by bylaw, law enforcement, the COVID Karens, and the St. Catharines standards, particularly Grant LaFlèche, who might be sued for defamation for implying that Alicia Herter of Chrome Artistic Barbering was behind death threats to the medical health officer for the region, when actually the precise opposite was true. Well, not the precise opposite, but Alicia was getting death threats, some of which she's recorded on voicemail and screen captured. It is despicable what those people in St. Catharines, I'm not talking about the citizens, I think the vast majority of citizens approve this, are doing to a couple of businesses that have the temerity just to open their doors and make a living.
Phrasebo, so it's Fraser McBurney, donated $9.99. Last Sunday at our Hamilton rally, the cops came down with pre-written $880 tickets. I got 2 more tickets for Fight the Fines. Yes, Fraser is a frequent flyer over at fightthefines.com, our largest civil liberties initiative to date. And by the way, if you donate to fightthefines.com, you can qualify for a charitable receipt because it's part of the Democracy Fund. So to help fund civil liberties work. Anyways, Fraser goes on to say they broke the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Section 176 of our peaceful assembly. Well, technically 176.2 relates to prayer services, church services, and other like religious services. But if you guys were saying a prayer, or if you call yourself the Church of Freedom, you might be okay.
Oh.
I'm not a lawyer. But that 176.2 relates to religious services.
She's not a lawyer, but maybe she's a jailhouse lawyer, folks.
Yeah, you could use one, David.
I can.
Canadian Deplorable donated $10. The cops shoved you with the hope you would retaliate so they can jump on you for assault of a police officer. Yeah. It's a tactic authoritarian cops are using more and more. I wonder how communistic we are becoming since COVID. The answer is very.
Yes.
Benny donated $5. Google, Quebec police, Richard Burnaby death. It was a big thing in Quebec about 25 years ago. Wow. Oh, I don't think we have to go back that far to see just how awful Quebec police are.
Yeah.
Not Flying Dutchman donated $3.99. Seems like you should add the city and the mayor of Montreal to the lawsuit. Seem to be stating that Rebel incited the riots. Is defamation? I don't know. But boy, if our guys get hurt.
It's in the hands of the lawyers, and we couldn't ask for better legal talent. Sir, I'll let them carry on the fight. But I know Ezra's a fighter, and any grounds we can fight on, Sheila, we will do so.
That's right. Lecoy Lemony donated $10 through Super Chat. It says, thanks, guys. Ladies, C. Broad Arrow donated $3.99. Time to get off the bench and into the fight. We are the resistance now and forever. Lindsay Shepard's new book, Diversity and Exclusion, should be the clarion call for all of us to engage in the fight to preserve our Western civilization. Yes. Leigman donated $3.99. Google Canada Oaths of Allegiance Act and go to your local courthouse, find a justice of the peace, and swear allegiance to the Queen. Remember the royal motto, Duet et mon droit, God is my law. The is Anglo-Norman, not modern French. God be with you. I don't know why any of that is necessary. I mean, I appreciate that you want to do something, but I don't know. Rebel Mon donated $50. Wow, thank you so much. Again, I'm going to have to fight you for that username. I met David in Montreal this weekend. Move over, Annalisa S. You've got some competition now, David.
And Lisa Proust is in Montreal, too. Wow. Where were these people in high school, Sheila?
I don't know. You know what? Is there something in the water out there? If there isn't, they have to start putting something in the water because these women are losing their minds. what an absolute cutie pie David is. Every time I see him getting arrested, I shed a few tears and take out my wallet to the Rebel team. Keep up the great work. Again, I'm just teasing you. I have great affinity and love for David too, and it makes me furious to see them tossing him around.
If me getting brutalized, bumped by a bus, bitten by a dog, if that we can monetize that for the company, okay, I'll be the sacrificial lamb, Sheila.
No, David. I would just rather you go out there and do your job unmolested by the cops, the state, mob, protesters, dogs, acts of nature.
Jessica, Jonathan Yaniv, and his bright steel pink cane. Don't forget about that. 5 head and shoulder shots.
Mama Yaniv. The dogs.
Yes, that's right. The iPad going into my Adam's apple from Mama Yaniv.
Dogs, the Conservative Party of Canada. Like, it's a never end. You are the most arrested journalist in the Western world, I think.
Sheila, it's unbelievable. I don't go looking for it, but I sometimes I feel like I'm Batman walking into Arkham Asylum, with all the locked up lunatics, right? So, anyways, carry on.
Tommy Canada donated $1.99. Jason Kenney must have a lot of money considering he's tanking his political career. He's been in politics a very long time. Yeah. So he probably has some money saved up. Anyways, maybe he was already bought off. I don't think they need to be bought off. I don't know. Okay, so regarding the previous Rebel chat that sent the German quote about the sign that we should hang on the GraceLife fence. It means in German, work sets you free, and it was posted on the fence at Auschwitz. Rebelator 2 donated $7.97. The church fencing renter contractor should be asked to contribute their ill-gotten gains to charity. I know that they did get a lot of bad reviews because of their involvement in all of this, and I'm not sure if that's entirely necessary. I don't know whether or not they really needed the money, but I would have to really need the money before I participated in fencing up a church, that's for sure.
That's a great ethical question. Sheila, if you and your husband ran a fencing company and the government of Alberta reaches out to you, and it has to be a lucrative contract, look how much fencing went in and how much labor, and you're struggling in the pandemic like everybody else, do you say, oh, thank goodness, we've got so many bills to pay, or do you go, you know what, ethically, morally, I can't do this? What would you say?
You know what I would do? I would decline the contract, and then I would tell everybody why I declined the contract. So I would go very public about why I declined the contract. And you know what that does? As you've seen with our I Will Open people, it shows the world that you are an ethical company willing to take a stand. And as with so many of our I Will Open stories, Noble Toys, for example, yes. People want to support companies that are willing to do the right thing. And so if this fencing company, I almost said the name, had said, we really need the contract, but I don't need it that bad, or I don't need it more than I need my conscience, and was vocal about that, I think that they would see a serious uptick in business. Instead, they're just getting bad reviews and just getting absolutely slaughtered on social media.
Sheila, you are brilliant. You should be the director of marketing for some multi-billion conglomerate company somewhere. That is an absolute brilliant answer, and it would have brought them more business and more positivity than reaching out for the quick and fast money. Great idea.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not brilliant. We've just seen it play out time and time and time again.
I never thought of that, though. Yeah.
Through I Will Open. And, I should point out that, especially in Alberta, since there is a lockdown again, and in Ontario again, if you are a business who's willing to speak up and defy the lockdown, and you want us to tell your story, submit to us at our special portal for businesses like that. It's iwillopen.com, and we'll do our best to come out and tell your story.
We sure will.
Andrew donated $1, says undercover police pulled down the fence to justify an escalation of use of force. No, I know exactly who did it. They are not undercover police. They were agitated, they were whipped up, they were passionate. I understand that. But they are definitely not undercover cops.
Yeah.
And please.
And Sheila was
quit
there,
sending
sir.
it,
Yeah.
people, I was there.
Yeah.
And please, people, quit sending me messages saying it was undercover police.
Yeah.
I watched it all happen. Yeah. It's not undercover police. I could tell that it was going to happen, and then it did. And it's not undercover cops. And when our side does stuff like this, we have to be honest about it. Andrew says, donated $1.59 and says, David, please do your terrible Andrew Says impression.
Well, he thinks it's terrible, but Andrew says he walks around the office and he's so smug, right? And he'll say things like, gosh darn it, Sheila Gunn, Reid, how can you keep going on about this church when there's so many other stories to cover? I'm Andrew Says. So we constantly get that kind of commentary from him, and that's a pretty accurate impression, and it's catching on. And Andrew Says hates it. So I don't know why he would poke the bear with that super chat.
Do you know, I've heard from my friends who watch the show, and I can't even believe my friends watch the show because I feel like they get enough of me in real life. But they're like, yeah, David's low energy impression of Andrew Says is decent. And it's not that Andrew's low energy, he's just calm. He's calm. Somebody's got to be calm. You're excitable, David. That's my job here, too.
He's working at the wrong company if he wants a bastion of calmness here. Did you see Ezra on Saturday? Holy mackerel. I thought I could boil a kettle on his head that day.
I thought he was going to have a stroke. I was really worried about him.
Me too.
Corey Stormans donated $5. Hey, Sheila, I have an LTE hotspot that I'm willing to donate and give to you. If this is something that would help you with your coverage, let me know if you would like to give this to you. I think that when I'm down at GraceLife, I have a really good cell phone. Like, I buy a new one every year because I buy for the latest camera because I don't carry a big camera. It's just that when you're on Skype, it isn't always great. And so we are working on some other solutions to that when we're live streaming on location. Ezra's got some big ideas. But I think an LTE hotspot would only provide exactly what I have, which is an LTE phone. But I appreciate that very much. It's very generous of you. I had people dropping off battery packs for me at GraceLife Church because I have to roll with two phones because it's cold outside and one will die. If you're live streaming, it just dies. It just sucks the battery out. So I have two phones, both LTE, both really great cameras that I have to use, and I just switch right away. And I had people coming by to drop off battery packs, which I think is so kind, that people see that we're having a problem and they're like, we're going to fix it. I think that's so great.
Do you think a CBC reporter would ever get an offer like that, Sheila, from the people?
No. No. They got $1.5 billion.
I know.
They can do whatever the heck they want.
It's direct withdrawal, but the idea of a voluntary additional donation, no.
No. Lauren donated $10. Where's this going? To Revelation 13:16, Mark of the Beast. Today, Pentagon announced microchip to be inserted into the hand to test the virus. Yeah, right. I didn't see that. But it's Joe Biden, so I'm could be true. Mark in Alberta donated $2 through a super chat. Why did they help rebuild the fence? I think I answered that. The church, for them, they don't. I mean, the government can have the building. Yeah, it's wrong the government seized their church. This is the stuff they do in China. But they are peacefully resisting this. They want to sort things out in the court. And it is important for them to meet. For them, the building and the land, it's just that. It's bricks and mortar. It's land. They are the church. The church is with them wherever they are. And so the fence, of course, is symbolic of what the government has taken from them or has tried to take from them. But for them, it's just a fence, and they could have taken it at any time. Andrew donated $1. If the jab is gene therapy, it's probably for the effects of the 2011 Fukushima reactor fallout. which the Canadian government ignored and lied about, by the way. Fukushima is still leaking.
I don't know about that.
Jim donated, I don't know. Jim donated $19.93. Thank you very much. David, did they offer you a tuna sandwich then when you were visiting the drunk tank?
Even though I was hungry, food was the least thing on my mind. There were all kinds of half-eaten muffins, sandwiches, cookies strewn everywhere. For my bench, I had to clear off half-eaten. I don't understand, Sheila. I can't imagine they don't have some sort of janitorial service that cleans out these cells. They were disgusting and filthy and unsanitary. And at one point, a nice guard did come by and he gave me a brown bread sandwich. I kept it in its wrapper. I looked between the slices of bread. It looked like a piece of cheese about the size of a credit card and the same thickness. And I don't know what else was in there. And like I said, even though I was hungry, I was not that hungry that I was going to eat that. So I left it behind with all the other inedibles.
Gross. May as well have been in COVID jail. Mark in Alberta donated $5 through Super Chat. David, you have scorn towards pro-lockdown people. How do you rationalize people who promote the rules while selectively breaking them themselves? Doug Ford.
Yeah, because, well, I think there's a way to explain that. I think the government right now is breaking the rules. When I see the ultra leftists, the progressives, the Marxists saying, "Oh, look at your free market economy now." Are you insane? This is the government preventing the free market economy from functioning. It is shutting down businesses. It is bankrupting businesses. It is putting thousands of people out of work. And I truly believe when we get our day in court, this is all going to be found to be, I don't care about quarantine acts and emergency services acts. You can't eclipse the Constitution and our charter rights by doing this kind of thing. So if you think a man like Adam Skelly is public enemy number one for having the temerity to open his barbecue restaurant, then I guess I'm a lawbreaker. I guess I'm a rule breaker. But I don't think so. I think this is someone just trying to make a living. And Sheila, as we've said over and over and over again, all you COVID Karens out there that want to cower in the basement baking Doug Ford's cherry cheesecake and you're scared to even go out to your porch, you have all the right to do that. No one is forcing you into a church. No one is forcing you into a barbecue restaurant. You want to go through life as a modern day hermit? Good on you. But for the rest of us, I think I want to take the risk. I take a risk every day when I cross the street. And I think there's just about as much risk in going to a barbecue joint or a church than crossing the street. So I don't think this is lawlessness at all, Sheila.
Yep. Sheila's friend Justin donated $1.59. To be clear, all places of worship should be as open as these mosques are. Take it to the highest common denominator rather than the lowest, and kick out the Gestapo. God bless, and shout out to Mr. Producer.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So cool.
Music by Candlelight donated $5. Dear David and Sheila, I sent David an email through Rebel News about my musical composition I've done that had Rebels footage of Pastor Coates' release. It's called A World in Tears on my YouTube channel. Why have you and Sheila not watched my video or commented? Well, I can tell you why I have not. I have even my other Rebel duties have sort of fallen by the wayside to the point where this is my first day back in my studio and I'm only here for half the day before I have to run out and do other things. And so that's why I haven't watched it or commented. I haven't even watched the Rebel videos that I'm supposed to watch to make sure that we don't get sued.
Well, I would like to apologize because I try to read and reach out to as many of these emails as possible.
Too.
And I know this is going to sound like BS, but folks, never have we been overwhelmed with responses. I honestly can't keep up. And you know me with technology, I am unfrozen caveman journalist. Your bright lights and high buildings frighten and confuse me. But Music by Candlelight, I believe was the name. Could you please resend that this afternoon? and I'll watch out for it, and I'll take a look at it. And please don't take it personally. Sheila and I and all our staff, we try to get back to everybody. Without you, our audience, we are nothing. So it was not meant to be a sign of disrespect.
Yeah, thank you. Penumbra donated $2.39. Everyone chip in so Rebel can lawyer up. Plus, Sheila needs a new camera. Hope my envelope is an okay start. Yes, thank you very much for that. Love your shirt. Great work, David. Keep us up to date on your camera progression, Sheila. You know, it's interesting because you were very kind to me when I saw you the other day. And then I was at the legislature yesterday at a protest. And there's 2,000 people. I work alone, as you know. And I got jostled. Nobody was like trying to hurt me, but I got jostled. My microphone went flying one way. My cell phone went flying the other way. Oh. Smashed the screen on my cell phone. And so I go out of my way to buy the best, newest Samsung phone every year because I roll with Android and the cameras are really good, but I smashed my my screen. And so because of that, because I buy the best, nicest phone I can every single year, it's really expensive to fix. So, yeah, big troubles with Sheila's technology lately.
So that's the story with your phone, Sheila. I thought you bumped into that fun-loving feminist, Dion Buse in Edmonton again.
Well, also people do complain because when we're streaming on the like when I'm live streaming on location with Ezra from GraceLife, Skype looks awful on a phone, right? Especially when you're just using your cell coverage. So Ezra's got a plan to change that and upgrade that, and I'm kind of excited about those developments. And our friend here handed me an envelope that I have to send into the office to help with that. Yes.
What's in the envelope?
Nothing. Hiller donated. Best wishes. Hiller donated $2. What's happening with GraceLife? Are police still there? Yes, they are. Andrew donated $1. Or these jabs could be a secret project to counter the cancerous effects of Monsanto's glyphosate, which is now in the global food chain. I'm not scared of glyphosate. I'm a farmer, so I'm not scared of glyphosate. And if glyphosate were going to get you, it's been around for long enough to manifest itself. V-Team Paranormal, donated $6.99 through a super chat. Hi, Sheila. I was wanting to watch your videos from GraceLife Church, and there's no audio except the censorship. Okay, we have an 80-20 audio problem, as in 80% of people can hear it and 20% of people can't. Could you please try to watch on a different device? I don't know if you're watching on your computer or your cell phone. Now, I don't have a problem hearing it on my cell phone and on my computer. However, some other people are. So I don't know if it has to do with how many speakers your cell phone has or what, but I know that some people are having issues with some of my videos, specifically from GraceLife, and I think that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Wendy, and we're doing our best to get it sorted out. Thank you. Wendy Coghill Roebuck donated $5. Just wondering who supplies plexiglass. I don't know if there's a specific person who supplies it, but boy, whoever does is sure getting wealthy, eh?
And Sheila, if I may add in there, it was funny, well, not funny, it was, I guess, perversely amusing when those Antifa black bloc types went on a rampage throwing street signs through, little merchants like a shoe store, someone selling hockey jerseys. They smashed those windows with relative ease. But what was really odd was their original target was an SAQ store, the government-run liquor stores. Well, they cracked it, but they didn't break it. It just goes to show you, Sheila, when it comes to the government investing in their windows, oh no, you ain't getting your filthy hands on our booze without paying for it. Just amazing.
Soldier of Christ donated $2.39. Jesus could walk on water, heal the sick, give sight to the blind, turn water into wine, feed thousands. But as soon as he cut into profits, the religious authorities had him crucified. Interesting. Zen Monkey Man donated $7.97. They broke the contract, exit their system, Bitcoin, Monero, Pirate Chain for peace and freedom. Fed up with fake conservatives donated $1.99. O'Toole, Ford, Kenny, and Harper are all losers. Yes, even the conservative hero Harper has turned into a vaccine-pushing shill. They will all tell you to stay home and wear a mask again. Take a vaccine, don't take a vaccine. We don't know if Stephen Harper has an underlying health condition that makes him want to take the vaccine, because he has an underlying health condition that would complicate things if he got COVID.
Yeah,
Don't get it, I don't care.
100%, Sheila. I have great respect in my heart for Stephen Harper, and if I had any wish from a magic lantern, it would be that the Federal Conservative Party pull a PC Party of Ontario 2018 move and have a palace coup with the PCs. It was getting rid of that loser, that fake lying liar, Patrick Brown, get him out the door and get a new leader in. And they proved that even though there was like just a few months to go before the next election, you could pull that off, because the Doug Ford PC Party did get a supermajority. I would argue another palace coup. Of course, Stephen Harper has to be willing to come back, and I don't know if his heart's in it, but I think it's our only hope, because as they say in Alabama, or is it Arkansas? Which state do they say this dog don't hunt? With Aaron O'Shear, as I like to call him, this dog don't hunt.
Oh my goodness, we're almost 40 minutes past. I still have to get through these super chats. Sorry, Justin, I'm so sorry. Sarah BC donated $3.99. Beloved, never avenge yourselves. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. For by doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:18-21. My daughter was in confirmation classes last night because she's being confirmed in the Catholic Church, and they were going through like line by line the Lord's Prayer, and they got to the part where it's forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and that's the one that I get hung up on because I am a vengeful person.
Have the Justin Trudeau Liberals tried to alter the Lord's Prayer like they did O Canada?
Don't give them ideas. Compromised Informant donated $26.31, and I don't see a super chat. Thanks very much. Rebecca donated $1.20. Can you start covering the St. Catherine's protests, David?
The only reason I didn't, Rebecca, was because, as you know, I was in Montreal, and it happened on the same day. But we will go back to St. Catherine's. I'm actually this afternoon going to reach out to Alicia Herder. So we haven't forgotten about you. It was just terrible timing in terms of the Montreal caper.
Right. I mean, and there's just so many stories. Everybody is protesting and just cannot get to them all. We just don't have the manpower right now. Dur-Fi donated $5. Like you say with Kenny, I wish Ford was actually being conservative. I am hoping for this new blue party to make a splash. Just to reiterate, Ontario is over $320 billion in debt and is the most indebted sub-sovereign region in the entire world.
Sheila, today, even conservative governments don't care about debts and deficits anymore.
No.
They just don't. It's a nothing burger. And our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, wait till they get the bill for what's going on.
It's funny because I come from the province where our conservative Premier Ralph Klein retired the debt. And we were so proud of it. And now we just spend, like, whether it's the NDP or the Conservatives, they just spend and spend and spend and spend.
Yeah.
Justin warns me about this next one. King on Common Law donated $5. Sheila, you fighting for Rebel Mom title reminds me of women's mud wrestling back in the 1970s at motorcycle rallies. You know, that is probably something that the feminists would get real mad about these days, wouldn't they?
Have you actually ever seen a mud wrestling event? I remember there was a scene in Stripes with John Candy doing mud wrestling, and he got his ass beaten. But I've never actually witnessed it physically.
KP donated $7.97. No super chat. COVID zombie survivor donated $10. Did they just shut down Chris Sky's Instagram? I don't know. We'll check afterwards. Maybe Justin, if you could click. It looks like they did.
Apparently.
Wow. You know what, though? I'm surprised they let him get away with that for that long. Like, they're so censorious. I'm surprised he hasn't been censored sooner.
Well, he's on the no-fly list, Sheila, so losing your Instagram account, that's within the realm of belief in these insane times. I guess the next step, because I know he was driving out to Alberta, is take his driver's license away.
Yeah, yeah. Donald Jones donated $10 through Super Chat. New to Rebel News from the U.S. You're not alone. We have Joe Biden, bowing to the left, bowing to the far left down here. If Joe Biden bows too far, though, he'll fall over. I bet he's just has no balance. Anyways, look south and weep as a civil war brews. Keep Canada free. I'm not sure that we're able to do that. I don't feel like we're free at all anymore. Philippe Brevard donated $1.59 for your Wi-Fi needs in the field. Look up Elon Musk's Starlink. It's orbiting Earth at the moment, and the service is up, I think. Okay, interesting.
2 to beam up.
Yeah. Benjamin Van Drunen donated $10 through Super Chat. The fencing may have a standing order with RCMP. They could be sued for breach of contract for refusing. They may not have ever expected to be masking a church when they were awarded the contract. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. Maybe we can get our hands on that contract.
Oh.
Yeah. Summer and Snow donated $1.53. Party on from Ganja Trucking Crew. Wow. Doomed in Ontario donated $3.99. Was it the Proud Boys that took down the fence? Nope. Not a one in sight. I get the church's stance, but I agree with the Menzoid. I'd be tearing down that fence.
And yeah, I'm not advocating anyone to do that. I'm just saying, if I was there, I'm at that level. Like I said, no more Christian nice guy.
I understand why it happened. I do. I mean, people feel like they're in a pressure cooker. They feel helpless. They just want to help. So I get it. And again, I'm wearing a Joan of Arc shirt. So, I mean, I'm doing my best to understand the church's point. And I do. I'm just, I don't know. It's just a catastrophe, and none of it has to be this way. Jeff Bannister donated $10 through Super Chat. Take care, y'all. And Drool donated $1, or the jab could be part of a binary poison with the Monsanto's glyphosate as a trigger that's already in the body. As soon as you get the jab, different levels of glyphosate could determine how long you live. Well, okay. Mark.
Maybe no, it doesn't.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe, but also maybe no. Again, if glyphosate was going to get you, please, I'm a farmer. If glyphosate was going to get you, you'd be got. You'd be gotten already. Don't worry about glyphosate. There's a lot of other things for people to worry about. Glyphosate's not it. Mark in Alberta donated $5 through Super Chat. Did Chris Sky Instagram get removed as soon as he got to Alberta? I don't even know if he's in Alberta. I just know his Instagram is down now. Seaweed donated $3.99. No Super Chat. Sitter7 donated $2.39. In Winnipeg, the 2 military bases were always empty since I moved to Winnipeg in 1994. Now it's full of vehicles, personnel, off-road vehicles. Do you think inter-provincial travel will be banned? Well, I guess it was on some level with the Atlantic bubble, right? And you couldn't go into Quebec for a while, except if you were Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. We're all in this together, Sheila.
That's right. All of us. In the poorhouse. Yeah. George Carlin was right, donated $6. Keep up the work, guys. Can you please give a dishonorable mention out to the Peterborough Police, because apparently they're trying to shut down and bully a hairstylist trying to feed his family, all while hiring their own mobile stylist for their cops. And I haven't seen a cop with a bad haircut in a while. That's
Sheila,
for sure.
I want to make a note. I visited that hairstylist in Peterborough on the way to Montreal. We shot a video, and hopefully we can get that up. And right after we left, that's when law enforcement came in with yet more fines for him. But he is a Fight the Fines candidate already, folks, and you can do a great favor to us if you can donate to fightthefines.com. This poor barber, he's got enough on the go trying to support a young family, and he's already got thousands of dollars in tickets. Now he's getting more by the sounds of it. We are going to crowdfund all his legal fees so we take care of him that way. If you are in a position to help, please go to fightthefines.com.
And Fight the Fines donations can qualify for a charitable tax receipt.
Yes.
Because it's part of the Democracy Fund. Jamie donated $3.99. Why are Canadians still losing their jobs for using cannabis after it's legalized? I even have a prescription to use cannabis from Health Canada. Why aren't these prescriptions being respected? I've been dealing with chronic pain for the last 13 years. Well, I suppose for the same reason that mask exemptions aren't respected.
Exactly.
You know, this is just people just either follow the law or they don't. And especially now during the pandemic, nobody seems to care about human rights anymore.
Yeah. But it's for your safety, Sheila.
It's for your safety. It's for your health. Can't you see? It's all for your health. That's why your head was bounced off a cop car. We are at 11:48 here in Alberta, which means we've been on the live stream for 1 hour and 48 minutes. It's like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but we're on like week 60. This is like our hour-long live stream, but we're on an hour and 48 minutes, and I think we're finally all caught up.
Well, thank you so much. And like I said, I don't advocate anyone tear down fences. And I don't advocate that anyone do Andrew Says impressions too, because he puts his eyelids at half mast, Sheila. I can't see because they go all the way down. I almost had an accident trying to imitate high energy Andrew Says. So don't do that either. So thank you to Justin. Thank you to Sheila. Thank you to all you generous super chatters out there. And until Thursday, stay sane.